Okay, I think we're good here. Well, we're trying to get connected. I think we're trying to. Okay. Well, can you see me, Thomas? All right. All right. All right. We're good. So basically, we're going to read the lawsuit from the Non Sequitur show. It's been updated, and people on social media either have like a reading comprehension problem, or they're just plain lying about this. I would name some names, but I'll wait. First, I have to make sure I can get connected to YouTube, because I'm still not really, I'm like only half connected. I've been having this problem ever since this, the P word starts with a P, ends with an andemic. Ever since that started, I've been having this issue, so hopefully we can get connected. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to restart. We'll see. Oh, man. Oh, come on, YouTube. Chugga, 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 chugga. I should just start using what everybody else is using. What? Okay, I'm good? All right, all right. Okay, so we're going to take the actual document that was like the court filing like Nate Brody did, and we're just going to look at it, because there's a couple little things that I think completely changed the entire narrative that's out there, one. Then we've got some reactions on social media that I don't believe are... I don't even understand how that is real, some of the stuff that was set out on social media, but we'll figure it out. And this is going to be a short stream, just to let you know, and then we're going to go to the YouTube channel Rockalot and hang out, because we've still got work to do on catching up on Chris Chan. And then I was turned in some... Type that dude's name for me, Thomas or whoever. I need the dude's name. I don't see the actual document in the current live stream room, though, so can somebody throw that in? Wait, nope. Oh, no, that's not it. Yeah, somebody throw that... hold on, let me jump into... Hey, can somebody put the document into the current live stream room for me, please? Thanks. Anyway, we're going to pull this up. So let me just talk to the live chat. And, oh, we've got a good... I have a green connection on YouTube now. Nice. Okay. We might just have a party, guys. Jules, Dove Kitty, Thomas, Bunny, hey, I was just getting ready to stream Parasite, but this sounded harder to figure out than Korean. Well, I'll help you with that. I've got some observations of my own. Leroy, what's up, dude? Aussie Trisha, hey. We got the squad fam. Good, good. I read the actual doc on the website, and it does not read good for Kyle, says MDoc920. Well, that's the thing. I agree with you. I think it doesn't read good for both sides, and I'll tell you why once we get in there. So, you know, check. That's right, Dilly. That's right. I'm working on it, Busy. I'm working on it. We haven't been streaming over here as much lately, okay? That's nice. All right, y'all. Let's see here. I need to get the actual document, and then we'll get pumping. I've got a link coming in. Yep, we got her. I'm just going to download it. Yeah, I'm just going to download it. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate you. Okay, we got to get into my documents folder, and then we will take a look-see at this thing here. There's a couple interesting parts. Now, I tweeted out the most interesting part in response to some celebration that was going on from the other side there. I don't want to open it in Adobe. Oh, good. It won't. Okay, let me check it really quick for addresses, and then we're getting into this. All right, we're good. So, before we get started, I say this every single time I talk about anything legal or any type of legal whatever on this show. I'm not a lawyer. I don't claim to have legal knowledge. I'm not good at legal stuff, but what I can do, though, is break down, thanks to the lawyers that I talked to today and several other people that are, you know, studied law or have a job that relates to it, and some opinions from others, and break down what it looks like is going on. So we'll break it down from both sides. We'll tell you Kyle's side, and we'll tell you Steve's side and all that good stuff. As long as I don't drop my e-cig. Okay. So, let's get started right here. Oh, also, let me get your live chat so I can see your live chat and respond to you guys. If you have questions, drop them in the chat. Hey, that's pretty. Man, it looks good in this room. This little stream room right here, man. I've been cleaning this place up. Can you tell? Can you tell that I've been doing some construction? I've been doing some live stream struction over here. Come over to come over to the Rockalot channel tonight, y'all, because we're gonna have a party. We're gonna have a party. Maybe I can even talk Kyle Curtis into jumping on the Rockalot channel. Who knows? Okay, now pending before the court are plaintiff Stephen McSimp, Mr. McSimp, motion for order to cause a motion to show cause, and Kyle Curtis, Mr. Curtis, revised motion to set aside default judgment, motion to set aside. Hearing each of these motions would be appropriate prior to ruling. So, first off, without taking anything from you guys or taking anything from anybody else, that's point number one that I think. Because that was the question. Like, we were wondering this entire time, which has been a while, it's been like a long time waiting, would we have to basically get a ruling, or is the judge going to hear out Kyle? So if you, like, I don't know, maybe like in a skeptical fashion, not try to take a side and look at this, we have our answer to our question that we've been wondering for months. Will the judge allow Kyle, because we've already been told that McSimp has won this little lawsuit. That's what they've been saying. In fact, they've gone as far as to say that legally the channel belongs to McSimp. Seems to me like that's not the case here. It seems to me like the judge is willing to hear Kyle, but we'll go further before we get anywhere. Let me read that again because I think it's important. Hearing on each of these motions would be appropriate prior to ruling. However, absent mutual consent, no hearing can be held on or after June 1st, pursuant to blah, blah, blah. Okay. The court further finds it should not issue further ex parte relief beyond the partial judgment by default. It entered into the action on January 23rd. I'm going to look up ex parte because I don't want to get it wrong. It could mean something other than what I think it does. Here, we'll just go with the definition. We know how much people involved in this case love definitions. With respect to or with interest to one side only, or of an interest outside party. So let that sink in however you want. The court further acknowledges Mr. McSimp's report that Mr. Curtis failed to comply with that judgment and therefore requests that an order to be issued to compel Mr. Curtis to appear and show cause why he should not be held in civil contempt pursuant to this section of the statute. So he didn't issue a contempt charge. The contempt charge would be necessary for Kyle to be thrown in jail. I find it interesting that the judge is saying, Mr. Curtis, to prevent me from issuing you a contempt charge, I will allow you to come stand in front of me and tell me what's up, right? So, for God's sakes, we've been being told for months that that wasn't going to happen, that he's just going to go to jail, that he better do this right now or he's going to go to jail, that they've already won and all this crazy shit. I don't, maybe it's coming up, maybe it's later on, right? You got me? Also, my peeps in the chat, if you have like something really important that you want to add, if you let the mods know, they'll drop your, and if you're not a member of the Discord and you can't put it in the current live stream room, let the mods know. They'll put it in the current live stream room and I'll read it out loud. I'll address what you have. So, all right, 5, Mr. McSimp supplemented his request by a supplemental affidavit, blah, 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 asserting that Mr. Curtis has failed to abide by the court's instruction on the judgment, including not turning over non-sex show Twitter account, but instead deleting it, compliance order, blah, 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 not turning over access to the non-sequitur Discord server, which Mr. Curtis contends he does not administer, a contention which Mr. McSimp challenges in his affidavit, not turning over ownership of the YouTube channel, but instead stating that he intends to retain a 50-50 ownership of the channel, McSimp affidavit, blah, 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 a list of inaccurate, blah, 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 and failing to provide any financial documents. 6, the purpose of civil contempt is, quote, to preserve the rights of private parties and to compel obedience to orders and decrees made for the benefit of such parties. And then it gives some legal jargon. The court may initiate civil contempt proceedings upon finding of probable cause. Blah, blah, blah. Probable cause refers to those facts and circumstances within the judge's official knowledge of which he has reasonable, trustworthy information. Now, that's the issue. That is the issue in this story. The judge does not have any reasonably or trustworthy information. Reasonably trustworthy information. He doesn't have that. He's got one side's piece of the story, right? And honestly, I think that if Kyle gets to talk, it will change a lot of what's going on. That's just an opinion. I feel that way because Kyle does have a lot of evidence. He has a lot of, you know, communication. He's got the fact that, you know, why is it that we don't get responses in this? And I don't mean just me, because I know I'm too UNIRock to get a response, right? Can't respond to me, so they can talk about me ad nauseum, but they can't respond to anything I put out. But I have seen the community ask them where there is any evidence of the 50-50 that we have been promised for a long time. You know, I won't go down that rabbit hole there. You know, the whole clip after clip after clip of mentioning a contract, mentioning a written agreement, mentioning the fact that there is communication that alludes to it, right? Why is that not there? Because wouldn't that be the most basic thing you need? And again, what I'll stress is this entire thing, like what the people that are left citing to, I would say, like maybe one side super heavy in this, it exposed that part of the community as non-skeptical, in my opinion. I broke that down in many videos, right? So I don't know when we'll get addressed. I don't think we'll ever get any of those issues addressed. I think that's enough information for me and many people I've talked to kind of get a good feeling of what's gone on, but it's up to you to make up your mind, right? That is interesting, though, because what have we even, none of us have even started asking ourselves or thinking what the judge will, you know, what's the judge going to think when he sees Kyle's evidence, his information, when he sees his side? All of us stopped believing that McCrae ever had some type of legally binding 50-50 agreement to the channel when we saw Kyle's evidence. Isn't it pretty obvious that the judge himself is also going to feel that way, right? I think so. I think so. YouTube fraud, can you not clog up the chat with BS? I really want to discuss the case. Well, I can kick him. YouTube fraud alert. I have a question. Can you ask Katie Rock why he bounces around in the beanie looking like Stan from South Park? Have you looked at your picture? It looks like you're George Soros with a little angel thing above your head. I don't think you can talk, my friend. I don't think you get to have an opinion, you know? All right. Proceeding for civil contempt may be commenced, quote, by the order of a judicial official directing the alleged contemner to appear at a specified reasonable time and show cause why he should not be held in civil contempt. Such an order may be issued on the affidavit of one with an interest in enforcing the order and finding the presiding judicial official. I hate legal jargon if you can't tell. There's probable cause to believe the alleged contemner not be held in contempt. See blah, blah, blah. Once it's determined that probable cause exists, the burden shifts to the alleged contemner to show that he should not be held in contempt and that he lacks the means to comply, or that his non-compliance was not willful. And they give a paragraph, but I'm not going to break that down. I'll just say this. This is saying now, whereas we were told, is anyone going to address how all of us have been told by certain simps and certain simp lords, we've been told that Kyle was going to get sent straight to jail. And literally, that's what they're saying on social media today. But when you read the papers, it doesn't say that. It literally says the judge wants to hear Kyle out. Interesting, because I thought, no, I didn't think I heard it. I literally have clips of Simp Rhetoric and Steve McSimp saying that Kyle is going to get thrown straight in jail. Well, the judge actually wants to hear what Kyle has to say. He wants to see his evidence. At least that's what it sounds like, right? I don't know. You guys tell me. Oh, where are we at here? Red Val, blah, blah, blah. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Materials of record, unrebutted affidavit testimony filed today support a finding that there is probable cause that Mr. Curtis willfully violated the court January, blah, blah, blah judgment. And specifically that he has failed to provide Mr. McSimp with accounts associated with the non sequitur show. His has failed to relinquish control of the YouTube channel, has not timely produced the requested financial documents. Mr. Curtis has not responded to Mr. McSimp's latest filing. He's not required to under the Chief of Justice, but for those orders, the court would issue Mr. McSimp request to Curtis to appear and show cause why he should not be held in contempt. And in light of the court's inability to proceed in that manner by this order, the court advises Mr. Curtis that the court's judgment remains in full force and effect, while the court makes no final finding of fact or wait, hold on, hold the front door. This is Steve McSimp's judge writing this shit. I was told by Steve McSimp, all the Steve Simps out there believe that the judge said that Steve owns the channel. Simp Rhetoric told his entire audience that Steve owns the channel. Right? Well, maybe that's what a default judgment is, simps and simp lords alike. Maybe that means that you don't have any fact, you don't have any finding, you just have a lack of evidence from the other side, right? Court makes no final finding or fact or conclusions of law prior to this hearing being scheduled. That would mean Steve doesn't own the channel. But then you'll argue, well, yeah, but he's supposed to turn it over. You know, I think that if you want to, like, you guys, obviously the simps and the simp lords are completely convinced that they've won. We know that. They've said it several times. They've literally had parties, live-streamed parties, where they're drinking, and all the simps are sitting around the silver-haired simp lord, you know, bowing down to his feet and agreeing with everything he has to say, never trying to anger him. And you've seen these live streams. There's been many of them. You know, I think that what it says here is that the judge is willing to hear out Kyle. Now, there's a reason that I changed my mind about this topic, and I put it into many videos. Now, I know certain people like Fight the Flat Earth and others didn't bother to watch my videos, and they only went off what my title said, or my thumbnail, which is probably a bad thing to do if you watch this channel. I would think that if you see my title and thumbnail, you're going to know, like, Uni likes to be funny about these damn titles and thumbnails. As I did when my assistant Busy got entered into the history of non sequitur. You remember when that happened? Oh, you do? Well, you want to tell him what happened? Yeah, that's right. Busy is now a part of the legal history of non sequitur. I wish I was joking, because, I mean, I would have just rather, you know, I would have at least tidied him up a little bit. I would have put a better suit on him. I would have given him a better fedora, at least a $400 fedora, right? Maybe a suit, maybe a $400 suit. If I would have known Busy was going to be entered into the non sequitur case, I would have at least drawn him a $400 suit, for God's sakes. Anyway, the court makes no final finding or of fact or conclusions of law prior to a hearing to be scheduled. If Mr. Curtis, in fact, has willfully violated and continues to violate the court's judgment during the period in which the court is unable to hold the required hearing before the finding in him in civil contempt, the court will give appropriate consideration to imposing all permissible sanctions, and if necessary, requiring Mr. Curtis to be imprisoned until he fully complies with the court's orders. Mr. McSimp, in turn, is... Oh, now this is the best paragraph. Mr. McSimp, in turn, is advised that the court will respond appropriately if his assertions prove to be without basis. So, this is the judge literally telling Kyle, you showed up, you filed a motion, you got our attention, we want you to tell us what happened, we're going to give you the opportunity to prove your case now. Aussie Trisha, sorry, getting PayPal soon as I get a new sim for the beginning. No problem. Thank you for the donation. Look, it doesn't matter how you donate around here. The fact that you're donating, thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. Though, I do think maybe like all the simps out there that worship the silver simp lord, maybe you guys should actually let your simp lord, your silver greasy simp lord hair Bauer know that Mr. McSimp, in turn, is advised the court will respond appropriately if his assertions prove to be without basis. So why should you assume that this is saying that Steve could also face whatever Steve is saying could happen to Kyle for lying to the judge, for not following? You realize Kyle not following the judge's order is at least equal to McSimp lying to the judge. Right? Now, here's the problem. As much as I know, all of the Steve Simps out there have been conditioned to say UNIRock is just a Steve hater now, and he just hates the red rhetoric, and he'll say anything he can to try to bring these guys down on YouTube. Even though I know you guys have been simp programmed to think this, that's not the case. The case is I have seen many clips that debunk Steve's bullshit. Now, when I put out my rebuttal to Steve, when I put out evidence, when I put out video evidence, so what Steve said at one point and when it changed later on, and posted it out to Simp Rhetoric and McSimp, they ignored it. They won't respond to those things. So what have I shown you in my previous videos? Just to remind you, because it's been a few months. One, I showed you where Steve basically in the beginning, back when this first happened, made several statements like that he had a contract, he had a written agreement with Kyle that showed a 50-50. That all turned out to be fake. And in the very end, right before the end of this, maybe 3 months ago, he did a stream showing everybody that he didn't even have a conversation with Kyle that showed that they had a 50-50. Okay? I showed you a stream where Simp Rhetoric and McSimp are sitting there talking about how they desperately need to get Kyle to agree to a 50-50 agreement, to put it on paper and to sign it to protect Steve just a day before the death of Non Sequitur is recorded. Okay? I've showed you where Steve admitted to Shannon Q that, let's see here, that Kyle did not steal Steve's money, that Steve told Kyle he wouldn't take the money unless it was under the table. I've shown you all of these clips. I've posted those clips thinking we would get a logical rebuttal from either Simp Rhetoric or McSimp, and we have not. All we've gotten are the normal kind of theatrics, the normal kind of I'm right, I'm a genius, I graduated from nuke school, everybody else is wrong. I, the supreme simp lord, am always right. That's basically what we've gotten here. So for those of you that'll say I'm just a Steve hater and that I'm just trying to side with Kyle, I don't side with Kyle. I think Kyle and Steve shouldn't have access to the channel, and it should be archived. That's my opinion. I've said that a million times. I think they both messed up equally. I think they both done bad things. So will it help to list those bad things for both of them so it shows them not just favoring Kyle? Well, here we go. One, I do think that Kyle, if he wasn't going, even though he has Steve's own words, he has Steve's written words on multiple occasions with recorded voice, recorded words of Steve saying he will not take the money from Kyle, that he willingly didn't take the money from Kyle. And there's many witnesses to this, including audience members that have witnessed this. I still think Kyle should have taken measures to save something for Steve, and I think it's wrong that he didn't. Got me? Now, he does claim that he did and that he'll give it to Steve once he's ordered by a court. So I haven't necessarily, until after the court thing happens, and if Kyle doesn't do what he's ordered to do when it comes to money, then I'll judge Kyle for that. See, I used to judge Kyle for not paying Steve. You know this, right? I used to judge Kyle Curtis. I used to say that Kyle Curtis has stole Steve's money. I had said that because of what McRae, almost messed up, what McSimp told me. Luckily, a lot of you guys were here, watched my live streams, heard him say it himself on the show, right? So when I find out not only that Kyle says, no, I didn't keep Steve's money, and then I find Steve agrees with that and states that Kyle didn't steal his money, it's a lie from Steve. So we've got a bad thing that Kyle's done. We've got a bad thing that Steve's done. Now, if I'm to list all the evil, nasty things that McRae has done right now, I'll be live for 2 hours just listing them all down the line. All the lies he's told, all the rapists that he's defended. Logically, all of the victims of the rapists that he just wiped their claim off the table without giving it a single look. because the rapist himself was willing to share and give Steve some clout or whatever it was. I mean, I could list so many that I will just refer you to my previous videos. But one thing is for sure in this story. If Kyle can answer Steve for the pieces that Steve does have things, the McSimp has things that he says are things that prove that he should own the non sequitur channel. If Kyle has an answer to those, why can't you all admit that Steve shouldn't have the channel? Right? Because I'm at the point where I'm thinking the few people that are left blindly simping for Steve McCrae, which they are if you go out on social media and read their responses. They'll sit and they'll pretend like, nope, they're the most skeptical, logical people ever. But if you ask them for any reason, if you ask them for any clip, if you ask them for anything that proves their piece, they will not be able to give it to you. Whereas Kyle can. When does it get to a point where Steve getting the channel would be wrong, right? I believe that if he does get the channel, it is wrong. Main point here, McRae, you can tell yourself all day because you're a narcissist. You get to make up your own reality. Whereas all of us normal people, we don't get to make up our reality. We get to react to it. We get to give our opinion on it. We get to respond. We get to make videos and respond. We don't get to create our reality through constantly repeating things over and over, through lying to people. We don't get to do that. So we know that you can morph this sentence into whatever you want it to be. But what I'll do is break it down into what I think it says. Mr. McRae, in turn, is advised the court will respond appropriately if his assertions prove to be without basis. I see that the judge has just said that if Mr. Curtis cannot respond to the orders the judge has given him, that Mr. Curtis could be given many sanctions, including imprisonment. Got me? So I think the judge is letting McRae know. I took a look at some of, you do realize Kyle sent the judge a lot of stuff, Mr. Simp. Simp Rhetoric, Simpshire. Do you guys realize this? Mr. Curtis did send the judge a lot of evidence, a lot of his side. Now we see the judge putting things, and now, so what I did, I talked to a lawyer, and that lawyer told me, he went and spoke to other lawyers. He asked his friends, is it normal for a judge to say things like this to a plaintiff in a case? They all said no. He said, have you ever had a judge say something like this to a plaintiff in a case? The lawyer said no. So personally, I have to be able to say, I do kind of stick to the opinion that the judge is letting McRae know. This is a court. Everything that we tell Mr. Curtis he could be thrown in jail for, you can too, McSimp. So if McCurtis isn't following orders, and if McCurtis is lying, if McCurtis is perjuring himself or whatever the hell you say in court, he perjured me. Whatever Mr. Curtis does, Mr. Simp goes to jail for the same things. Mr. McSimp, in turn, is advised that the court will respond appropriately if his assertions prove to be without basis. So what happens if the judge finds out that Mr. Curtis can prove his side, that Mr. McSimp can't prove his side? What happens? Well, I think the judge then would be angry at the McSimp. You get me? I think the judge would do the things that they've threatened to Mr. Curtis. I think they do those things to Mr. McSimp, personally. Finally caught you live. Great stream. Nate Brody, thanks, buddy. You had a great... Was that a stream earlier or an upload? Whatever it was. I think it was a live stream. You had a great stream today. I haven't been streaming on UNIRock too much, man. I've been doing some more behind the scenes work. I've been doing secret stuff. I'm spooky. I'm crazy. I've been hanging out with my assistant. Shut up, ding dong. We know you like peanut butter and crack, Busy. We know. Oh, do we know? Okay. So what is my point here? My point is that Mr. McSimp will be given the same penalties that Kyle could if he turns out to be lying. He could be thrown in jail. He could be sanctioned. He could be like, he could get in some trouble if the judge finds out that Steve wasted the court's time. So why do I think that Steve doesn't deserve the channel? Why do I think that Kyle deserves the channel? Well, I have been kind of like saying this here and there, but I do have an ace in the hole. I have a card up my sleeve. I've used it a couple times in this argument. Not lately, purposely. You see, any other YouTube channel out there who had this happen, where they start to break up because a certain person's harassing women or siding with rapists or attacking Patreons, flipping out, getting drunk and booming and simping out when he's really wasted, right? You get this thing that happens when a channel starts to split up, where, of course, whoever's getting kicked off the show is going to stand up and scream, "I was a business member of the channel." So if it's not non sequitur, what is the logical thing that dictates who's right and who's wrong in any situation? Now, I'm talking about in any YouTube channel. Instead of us sitting here simping for McCrae, simping for Curtis, what would we do if any other YouTube channel had a similar problem to this? I think I know. I think you know. I think we all know what we would do. We would say, do they have a contract? Did they put it on paper? Right? So who owns it if they didn't put it on paper? That's where we would make a moral decision. That's where we would make up our mind, in my opinion. Hey, Brody. Thanks, my dude. Man, you're being too nice to me tonight. You're being too nice. So, you know, I know that there's some people out there that used to watch my show. They used to like me. And when I started to call out Steve McCrae for lying, for simping, for trying to be a simp lord, for trying to woo-woo and lie and dictate to his audience like every dictator does, when I showed all of these things that he's done, I know they got mad. I know that those people that were simps for him got angry at me when I stood up to Steve. There was about 10 people. I would say to all of you, you've been exposed as complete non-skeptics. And that's the main thing about this story. This story exposes that entire crowd that hangs around Simp Rhetoric, hangs around the other guys that are involved. Should I name names? I know they'll cry. I don't want to make them cry. I shouldn't make them cry. I'm tired of making them cry. They cry so much about me. They cry about me constantly, Biz. I don't want to do it again. You know, the people out there who have donned the skeptic garb on YouTube, that are the logical people that call out the flatties and show them the truth about the world. You guys aren't skeptics at all. You guys, well, I hate to say it out loud. I don't want to make any, what's his name? The dude I always like mix up. I call him Cy Strikeling, but he's not. Who is it? Somebody type it for me. Who? Who? No, that's the one I always call him. It's the other one. Oh, shit. You guys know who I'm talking about. Thank you, Bunny. Sly Sparkane. Not Sly Strike. Yeah, Sly Sparkane. So let me restate what I was saying here. You guys aren't skeptics. You guys have been exposed. You can hate me until the cows come home. That's my job. That's what I do on YouTube, okay? I respond. Thank you, guys. I love you. Thank you, DeGPK and Bunny Bunny. When I go into these communities, if I see this kind of shit happening, I stand up and I actually say it. It's what I've done through the entirety of me being on YouTube. It's why I have an audience. It's why I have a show. I'm not scared to stand up and tell you guys that you're not skeptics. I'm not scared to stand up and tell you guys that you're not looking at the evidence. You're only listening to one side, because I was only listening to one side. Right? And when you do actually finally wake up and become a skeptic, you open your mind and you look at both sides. Only then will you be able to weigh in and actually have an opinion that's not based, and you all based. And it does expose the irony behind your channels. I have gone into this. What do I need to break it down again tonight? Because I don't think I do. Well, you agree. Okay, I won't then. Busy agrees with me for once. You guys are not skeptics. It's exposed it completely. Those of you that are willing to close your mind and instead of going out and actually searching for the reason that all these people have changed their mind about Simp Rhetoric and McSimp and all the other people that ran these GoFundMe campaigns and did all these other things, that these guys want to just stand up and say, we did good and we should be able to do this, and nobody can criticize us. Nobody can stand up and say anything to us, or we'll sick our audience on them. You guys aren't skeptics. You're a simp! I know I'm being a little harsh on you, but at least I care enough to be able to be harsh with you. At least I care. You see, I'd love to sit here and use narcissistic tactics to try and woo you into changing your mind on something. Instead, I will just keep saying it every time these subjects come up. Go back, look at the videos that are made about this, and weigh them against each other. Weigh the other side's words, that you have to believe them. They did nothing wrong. They've done good things with you guys, and therefore it's an excuse for their behavior. It's an excuse for what they've done to the community. When in all reality, when you break it down, the reason that this whole thing broke apart, the reason it split at the seams, you can blame it all on one person all you want, but the fact is, it's everybody's fault. Every single one of them that was involved in this, because they took sides, since they played the cancel culture narrative. This is why this whole thing broke apart. And most of the people are awake to this fact and have changed their minds now. And to the few who still cling to the silver hair of the simp, one day I am supremely confident, I have faith that you will open your mind. Because the grease on that hair will get so much, you won't be able to hold on to that shit. You're going to fall right off of it. And finally, you're going to be able to see everything that's been out there waiting on you this whole time. There's another side to this story. And before you can actually stand up and say everyone else is wrong, you must be able to accept it, to discuss it. And I haven't seen it on any of your channels. I haven't seen a single one of you pull up the clips of Steve Lyon, the clips of him bullshitting about non-sec, the clips of Reds and Steve lying about what Kyle said, lying about the fact that Kyle stole money. I haven't seen any of you break it down, but I broke it down. And it's changed the minds of a lot of content creators too. They won't tell you to your face because they know you guys like to sick your audience on people. It doesn't mean they don't sit where they're at chilling and know the truth. I'm Audi 5000, G. You're a simp. See you soon. I'm going to Rockalot. Come hang with me, peeps. Rockalot, Rockalot, Rockalot. heard Busy. They can hear you. They know. You're a simp. Stop saying it, Busy. Stop saying it, Busy. Busy, I'm going to fire you again. Busy, I don't want to argue with you at the end of my show. Shut up. I'm going to turn the microphones off. I'm turning the microphones off.